and that's understandable in a public group like this. So we have the complimentary consultations for that reason, so you can ask individual questions. We can get into the personalized finances. We break those sessions down into two sessions, both complimentary, so there's no fees involved. First one is we're going to take a snapshot of where you are, which we like to refer to as point A, which gives us an opportunity of what your assets are, what your debt is, what your income is, and what your expectations are. So we want to get that snapshot of where you are and talk to you about where you want to be 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and so forth, and how you want your assets to pass once you're done utilizing them all through retirement. So we call that point B. And then what we want to do is between that first session and the second session of the complimentary consultation is that we want to find the best path to get you from point A to point B. That path is going to be based on what your individual sleep factor is, which I like to call your sleep factor. That's your ability to take on risk. So there's good investments and there's bigger investments, but it could be a good investment for me, may not be a good investment for you if you have trouble sleeping at night worrying about what your money's doing. So it's not whether the investment's good or bad. We're finding the right path that's going to get you from A to B, where you can sleep at night not worrying about what your money's doing. So that's the purpose of the complimentary consultation. So I would suggest that when you fill out the evaluation form, if you're interested in that, to check that box. And what you'll walk away with after the two sessions is a financial plan that'll get you from point A to point B based on your individual situation. It'll be customized. You can take it, throw it in the trash can outside our offices. You can take it, you can implement it with the advisor you're currently working with. Or you can ask us if you help you implement the program and be glad to do that. But that's your choices, but at least you'll have something, a plan to work with when you walk out of the office after these complimentary consultation. So without going any further, I know you listened to me long enough. We're lucky enough to have Chad Axelrod here this evening, who's going to cover this material. Chad is world famous. That's why we have it on the YouTube video, speaking to probably hundreds, maybe thousands of people tuning in on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, Chad Axelrod.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. I appreciate it. People have been to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and know where that is. Yeah, nice resort town right across the bridge is Ocean City, Maryland, a nice tourist destination. Well, 10 years ago when I got in this business, that's where I was in 2014, visiting a client of mine that when I started at New York Life. This client, her name was Becky. This is actually somebody who I hadn't been seen in about 20 or 30 years. So I drove down on a Tuesday afternoon in February 2014, got to know her a little bit. In getting to know her, I actually found that she had fallen on some hard times. She had spent the last 3 years spending all of her savings taking care of her husband. Unfortunately, he passed away of an illness not too long before I met her. To say that she was in dire straits would be a real big understatement. She was actually unsure how she was going to pay her bills going forward. And fortunately, I did a review of her account with her. And we were able to discover that she had thousands of dollars that she was able to withdraw and get caught up on her bills. It provided a whole bunch of relief for her. She didn't have to actually ask her kids for help, but she was actually contemplating doing as well. To say that she was grateful would also probably be another understatement. I know this because I got home later on that night and I had an email waiting for me in my inbox saying thank you once more. And at the bottom, she said she had prayed for a miracle that somebody or someone could help her. I take that to heart a lot. It always comes back to me 10 years later, because what if there could have been a better way? Maybe there could have been a better plan put in place that could have maybe helped safeguard some of her assets. But also, what if I couldn't get there then and do that review with her? Where would she be? You know, so that's really when the light bulb went off for me. I decided to increase my education further and actually become more of a planner, not somebody who just offers products. Because that's one of the worst things you could ever really do. Get some sort of product without knowing what solution it's going to solve. Wouldn't you agree on that? Right? That's why I really tell the story. Just because imagine the difference it really could make just with a little bit of planning. All right? So again, I do want to introduce myself once more. My name is Chad Axelrod. I am a financial planner with GWH Wealth here in Newtown, right on State Street. Of course, as Mike said, we've been in business actually over 40 years, helping our clients with their wealth management and forward tax planning strategies. We consider ourselves leaders in the community, you know, giving back with these educational workshops because we know other rewards will come in giving back to the community, right? Wow. You guys with me so far? You good? All right. As Mike mentioned, you have those workbooks in front of you. We're not going over all of it, as he mentioned before, okay? But yes, we're gonna go over all the highlights of it, all right? So just a couple things on the agenda. We're first gonna go over the obstacles that you're gonna face in retirement, as there are many, and it's all connected. You also have the unrated impact of taxes, which I'm sure a lot of you want to be a little bit more familiar with, and what you can do now to help protect yourself. All right. But as Mike had mentioned earlier, I want your participation. I'm going to poll the audience. I'm going to ask you a few questions. All right. Riley has some things to give out. Should you give an answer that I like? Only. Okay. We got to try to keep it light. Okay. I want you to feel good about just like opening up a little bit. All right. So let's get started and talk about retirement. I like using this slide for a lot of different reasons, but it just is real basic. There's two different stages of retirement, right? First, you have the accumulation phase, right? That's where you're working, you're saving, you're investing. You can also afford to make some mistakes along the way too, right? Why? Because you're not withdrawing from those accounts. And also from a tax perspective, pretty simple for the most part. While you're working, the more you make, the more they take, right? But then you have the distribution phase, which I feel you need more of like a specialist to help you with that outside of the mountain, because it can be a lot more complex and a lot more issues that you face. When do I turn on Social Security? How much market risk am I taking? How am I going to address inflation? How are taxes going to implement into my overall plan? And am I going to outlive my money? Do I have a healthcare plan? And get it down the mountain safely, you have to keep a lot of things in mind, right? First thing is, you need to look ahead. I don't know if any skiers in the room, but when you're going down the mountain, you have to look ahead. You also have to implement a plan that's cohesive and know how to get down there safely as well, and also look for opportunities along the way too. Right? Because every one of these issues, all these obstacles are connected, and also they really connect all the way back to that one on the bottom is taxes. Right? I want you to realize that theme overall as we go through this. All right? Make sense? Because I tell you, mistakes in retirement could cost you, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement. Okay. And usually you don't get any do-overs. Right. Let's focus on longevity. That's the number one things that we get in our office as far as questions go. Am I going to outlive my money? Right. If you're a married couple, age 65, you got about a 60% chance one of you is going to make it to age 85. There's about a 40% chance of splitting the difference, as you say. All right. That's one of you will make it to age 90. So why is that? People are living a lot longer. Medical technology, right? Taking better care of yourselves. You might actually spend more time in retirement than you actually ever did in your working years. Something to think about should you implement any type of plan. Of course, you have a whole bunch of things in your workbook. I'm just going to go over, of course, the ever-rising cost of healthcare is a very big concern for our clients, right? Usually outpaces regular inflation. Of course, it's differed over the last few years with regular inflation being around 8 and 9%. Right? But we've all been feeling that. But you got to make sure that you account for your healthcare needs. As they say, about average care is about $300,000 in retirement. And the biggest elephant in the room is your long-term care strategy. Not sure if you have one in place, but this is one of the things that can be the most complex and most really confusing. But also, there's some good opportunities with this, because when this was first implemented, yes, you had to pay thousands of dollars in premiums. Maybe they were also rising every year, but that's the thing of the past, right? There could have been actually, there's also better strategies now where you can also just set aside a portion of your assets, leverage them. Like Peggy, like my client, maybe she didn't know this because she didn't know what she didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Right? Pretty simple, right? Couple that with the ever rising costing of healthcare, you have regular inflation. So I put this map of this graph of the Federal Reserve's money supply. You can get it from their website. I just want to let you know why we got it. $6 trillion into the economy in 2020 and 2021. All that money going into the economy causes high inflation, which has caused the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates, right? So you're feeling pretty good right now, though, with your money markets and savings accounts getting anywhere from 4 and 5%. Well, I'm here to caution you just to make sure you don't go burning that false sense of security. Because the Fed was already priced in 3 rate cuts later on in the year. So where will you be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road? You have to make sure that you have a long-term strategy to outpace the regular rate of inflation of 3% over a 10-year period. Right? Don't you see that? Can you see why that's important? Right? So I'm here to tell you, a gallon of milk, new car, not going to cost any less than it is today, right? And how you do that, of course, you have to have a good asset allocation model, strategy, manage the volatility of the market, the ups and downs. Also, knowing which bucket of money to take from should you be experiencing a down market, right? Variable. And managing overall risk, not just from an investment standpoint, but all those obstacles I mentioned already. Regular inflation, taxes, your longevity, healthcare, all those are risks to you, right? They equate to a whole lot of different types of risk in retirement. And as I mentioned, everything's connected. All right. When I get into public speaking, I was told that I need to know my audience. All right. So let's take a poll. Raise your hand if you think taxes are going down. That's a tough room. If you think taxes are going up. Now keep it raised. There you go. Look around the room for a moment. Look around the room. All right. I haven't really said a word about taxes. All right. Now you have to start asking yourself that question, why? Why do you think that? Right? I'm happy to provide all that education and awareness and tell you how you're going to forecast and plan for that. Right? Let's get into them. So first we'll go over why taxes are a problem, why you can't ignore it, how to protect yourself. Right? But there are many factors that can affect how much you pay for taxes in retirement. First of all, the brackets change. Are you aware that brackets change every year? You can put yourself into a higher tax bracket. Turning Social Security, RMDs, pensions, selling for a high capital gain, right? There's ways that you can control that. Then you have deductions, right? While you're working, most of us are taking the standard deduction. But while you're working, what are your 3 biggest deductions that you have in retirement? This is the opportunity to participate. Shout that. What are your 3 biggest deductions while you're working? Home, yeah, home, 1. 401k, yeah. Kids, maybe? Kids, all right. So what really happens, what happens in retirement? Well, hopefully your home's paid off. Maybe the kids are out of the house, all right? And you're no longer working. You can't contribute to your 401k anymore. All right, so you lose your 3 biggest deductions in retirement, right? You can get a little bit more tricky on how you can reduce your overall income in retirement. Right? And then you have new laws, which we'll get into now. That's a busy slide. We're going over all this. Don't worry. I'm kidding. We're not going over all this. I use this slide to prove a point. These are 15 tax laws that were passed over the last 15 years. Tax laws are constantly changing. All right. This is government, folks. They're not going away. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are more things ahead. Who really wants to keep up with all this stuff? You? Can I do it all by myself? Do we have a team working on our client's behalf, collaborating, looking forward to know and how to anticipate, adjust the plan in a timely manner to know exactly how to deal with this? Yes, we do. But we'll go over a few that will really pertain to you, of course. First is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. That lowered everybody's marginal tax rates to where they are currently now. That's set to expire at the end of 2025. Right? I call this the headline versus the real story. Right? You see in the news that a lot of people, oh, the rich are going to have to pay more. Yes, is that true from this chart? Of course. But look at the right side of the screen for a moment. It's only about a 3 to 7% increase. Right? Look at the middle income earners. Your taxes are going up too. Right? That's about a 15 to 25% increase. Right? Depending on where you fall. So who's really going to feel it more? So this really actually validates your Congress to be known where taxes are going to be going. Right? And understand a little bit more as to how your tax treatment of all your assets, and they only really fall into 3 different buckets. Right? First bucket, of course, we have the taxable bucket. That's your interest, your capital gains, dividends. That's the bucket that we was constantly being taxed, what we call a 1099 now bucket. Right? Then you have the tax deferred bucket. That's your IRAs. You pay, you put money into this plan, you get the tax deduction while you're working. And then when you retire, when you withdraw all that money, you get a tax at whatever your income tax rate is at that time. Right? Then you have your tax-free bucket. Those are your Roth IRAs, HSAs, muni bonds, some cash value life insurance. The overall idea is to make sure you put them together any type of plan is to optimize any type of strategy you're looking to do and to get as much money tax-free as possible. Because you all said it already, you know where taxes are going. What strategies can you do today to make sure that you're better off tomorrow? Right? I want to focus on this real quick. Yes.
Slide before,
This.
when you had taxes, I didn't see social security mentions in that.
Oh, I will. I will, yes. You're ahead of the game, that's good. I like it, that's fine. All right. Oh, I was gonna ask you, where does most of your money live? Shout it out, where does most of your money live? Just investments, just what bucket? The tax deferred bucket? What's that? Usually taxable, tax deferred 401ks, IRAs, anything like that, right? Okay, good. Yeah, well, that's good. Well, the reason I bring that up is, and especially with the tax deferred bucket there, what does it do? Yes, it defers the tax, but most importantly, it defers the tax calculation. What I mean by that is that you don't know how much money you're going to pay. Because also the IRS doesn't know either, right? Because all those things I just mentioned already, everything's changing. Tax laws are changing. The brackets can change. You can put yourself into a different tax bracket. You lose your deductions, right? Everything's always constantly changing because you know where taxes are going. So when you get your statement in the mail, don't get too comfortable because everybody has a debt. The government is your silent partner. Right? You have to start thinking about how much is yours and how much is theirs. Right? Make sense? With me so far? You guys are like, yeah, that's good. All right, good. All right. Interesting. What does it say down the bottom? It says how much is there? What does it say? What does that spell? Right?
Yeah.
The IRS, right? Isn't that interesting? I did my job. I got my lab. Or, come on, ladies and gentlemen, this is taxes, okay? This is like, I mean, we're 3 days after tax day. I mean, happy hours down the road. I'm sure, I'm glad you came to a seminar to get more educated and have a lot more awareness. But I thank you for bearing with us, all right? Let's just go over requirement and distributions. A lot of rules have changed with regards to that, which I'll go over in just a moment, all right? You can see that the ages have changed depending on where your date of birth falls. Always just got to make sure you take it or else you get penalized, all right? But a couple things need to happen when you take a requirement of distribution. The only 2 things really happen. right? You either have to spend it right away, or it ends up back in the taxable bucket. Right? Can't go forward, can't put that RMD into a Roth IRA, which maybe you may be thinking is it. Right? That's what we call the vicious cycle. Once it's taken, so you take money out, you get taxed at your regular rate, and then you put it back in the tax defer, into the taxable bucket, should you not need it. You're taxed again. So we call it tax again. Right? Let's go over another law. Secure Act 2.0 was passed at the end of 2022. Right? This greatly changed how retirement assets are also inherited to the next generation. You have children and grandchildren. Right? So prior to 2019, 2020, if you inherited an IRA, you were able to stretch those beneficiary payments over your lifetime as a beneficiary, right? Not anymore. IRS needs their money. Now you have to exhaust that account within 10 years, right? Could be beneficial, you know, but usually what we see where your grandchildren, children in their peak earning years, they have to report all that as income, right? Just start thinking a lot about conventional wisdom, going against it a little bit. So,
Sorry, just to clarify.
Sure.
that, You have, so once you start RMDs at the age of where you fall based on your birth, you have 10 years, you have to exhaust.
no, I'm talking about inheritance. Yeah, so you're taking your RMDs, that's fine, you pass away. And if you pass it on to your wife, and then if you're married, and then next generation, when they inherit your IRAs, if they're tax deferred retirement accounts, they have to exhaust all that money within 10 years. Thanks for the question. Is that,
Thanks for clarifying.
you're welcome, yeah. Sure.
If you spend it right away.
Either you spend it right away, which is good. If you don't need it, then it ends up back in your checking account, your savings account, your investment account. Yeah, yeah. Because capital gains, interest, in all your accounts, right? That's what we call the vicious cycle of taxation. The IRS is playing chess while we're all playing checkers.
Not tax. Yeah, it's just the appreciation.
The earnings on.
The earnings, I'm talking about the earnings, yes. Yeah. Hmm?
All right, I'm lost.
All the more reason for us to get together, maybe we'll discuss a little further, right? But
Just to clarify, when you take your required minimum distribution, you're being taxed as income in the year you paid it.
yes,
If you don't spend it, you reinvest it in the non-tax, in the taxable bucket. The interest and earnings on that capital gains are taxed again,
tax again,
not the principal.
not the principal, no, I'm talking about the earnings, yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah. Well, we call that the double taxation, just on the earnings. That makes sense, all right? Hmm? Okay,
On the capital gain would be.
capital gains, interest, 1099 out bucket. If you're, yeah, oh, that's okay, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. We'll go on from here, all right? Most importantly is discuss Social Security and Medicare taxation. These have tax penalties and traps of their own that maybe a lot of people fall into, all right? Couple action items just on Social Security. I'm not going to go over this whole slide, all right? If you haven't yet enrolled in Social Security, and if you haven't gone to SSA.gov, you just need to go on there and register, right? Helps protect your identity and also gives you an idea of the overall benefits that you're getting when you start Social Security, all right? Social Security benefits can be taxed anywhere from 0 to 85%. So if you're receiving Social Security and you have any other income on top of that, you could get taxed anywhere from 0 to 85%. That's pretty much all I'm going to go over with this slide, right? But it's in your workbooks. You want to know a little bit more about it. When we get together, we'll discuss it more, all right? But what I really want to focus on is Medicare. A lot of people are unaware if you have higher income in retirement with regards to Medicare, right? You can be penalized and you will be penalized, right? Let's take this example. We have George and Martha. They're enrolled in Parts B and D. Their adjusted gross income for 2022 was $255,000. That's what from their IRAs, their investment income, and Social Security. And their marginal tax rate is 24% as of right now. We know where they're going, right? But we're just focused on present rates as of right now. All right, this is where they fall. This is the chart that's based on your income and how much they have to pay in Medicare. $70 extra a month. Really not too bad as a married couple, right? Right? But I'd like to take it a little step further because it's easy to fall into these traps. What if George and Martha just decide to take a trip, need to repair the roof, whatever it is, and they take another $3,500 out of their IRA for that year? Now look where they end up. See how easy it is to fall into that trap, if you're not really keeping track of this on an ongoing basis? Now they're paying each an extra $100 a month. Plus Part D. I'm only, these are the most heaviest premiums I'm just focusing on. Thank you very much.
So I have
Hmm?
a question
Yes.
related to this and also to the previous discussion around the social security tax. For Medicare,
Hmm.
is there does the government reduce your social security to cover the Medicare
No,
tax that you may owe? They're two separate,
yeah, they're 2/7.
they're treated separately, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, you get a letter from Medicare. Go ahead, Aaron.
Treated separately, but your Medicare premiums are deducted from your social.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
No.
Then you're going to go on individual billing.
Yes. Yes, they do. All right. So see how easy, okay. See how easy it is though to go into higher brackets. Right? But now I put Dennis the Medicine up there. Why? Because it's George and Martha, right? George and Martha, Mr. Wilson, right? All right. I watched the movies, the cartoons. I read the comic strip. Right? So I guess what's that? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. So sorry. Go ahead. You went to the end of it. That's cool. All right. Well, I'm Dennis the Menace in this scenario because it's in 2024, George passes away. Let's talk a little about what happens tomorrow. Right? First thing is she'll lose the lower of the two Social Security payments. In this case, it's $40,000 a year. Yes, is her income lower? Of course. She's at $215,000 a year. But next year, when she files single, she loses her joint deduction to push her into a higher tax bracket a lot faster. Right? What tax rate is she in as a single filer? Anybody want to take a stab at it as a single filer? Brian will give you a prize. All right. Well, she's in the 32%. They were in the 24. Now she's in the 32. Now we're for her Medicare premiums. Go back to the chart. As a single filer now, there's her income range. That's how much she's paying. An extra $400 a month in Medicare premiums, almost $5,000 extra a year in Medicare. See how easy it is? This is what we call the widow tax or the widower tax. Are there ways to combat this? Are there ways to adjust and plan ahead so you're not going to be experiencing these things later in retirement? Because it's so easy, as I just pointed out. And if you don't have somebody on an ongoing basis monitoring this, it's real easy to fall into those traps. Right? So let's discuss what even Martha can do to protect herself. She can do Roth conversions. And hopefully George and Martha should be doing Roth conversions even before he passes away. They're in the 24% marginal tax rate. Good opportunities to take advantage of doing a Roth conversion. What does that mean? So you withdraw from an IRA in that calendar year, you pay the taxes on it, and then all that money ends up into a Roth IRA, right? Of course, it's not subject to any requirement of distributions at that point. All the growth is income tax free, and when you withdraw, it's income tax free. Right? It won't appear on the tax return. So when Medicare looks at your overall income, if you're taking money from a Roth IRA, it's not going to be included in your overall income. That makes sense? All right. What else should George and Martha have done, or Martha do in the year that George passes away? Because he passes away here in 2024. Got to have somebody looking out for her in this, because she's gonna end up in the 32%, right? This is the last year she's gonna be filing jointly in 24%. Look how much she can max out. If she's willing and able to do so with proper planning. Maximize that 24% tax credit. That makes sense? See how easy it is to know a little bit more, have a little bit more awareness, have somebody guiding you along the way. Right?
It would be smart to do that before social security benefits kick in, right? Because you're.
Check. Yeah.
Depending on the amount that you're converting, that can kick into a higher tax bracket.
It can. Yeah, it definitely can. Yeah. So if you're charitable, this is also another strategy you can implement in tandem with Roth conversions. People, if you don't need your requirement of distribution, this could be a good alternative. You can send a portion or all up to under 5,000 this year to a charity of your choice. Right? It doesn't give you the charitable tax deduction, right? But it does reduce your overall adjusted gross income for the year, right? A lot of people, when they enter retirement, think that they can't do Roth conversions when they're already taking their requirement on distributions. It's untrue. There's no income limit on doing a Roth conversion, right? That's why by implementing strategies like this, it helps ease the overall weight on the tax return. It makes sense? All right. How many people think that there are strategies out there that the wealthy and the ultra high net worth use every day that could also apply to your overall situation? Yeah, you think so? Well, they're out there. When we get together, we can familiarize you a little bit more. But, you know, they create good tax deductions, tax credits to help offset some of those conversions that you're doing. Even if you're downsizing your home, maybe, or you're a real estate investor in general, you defer some of those real estate tax gains. Capital gains from your real estate. Right? The overall mentality is really to bring the like that Wall Street mentality down to Main Street, because there's reasons why that Amazon, Google, they make billions of dollars a year and they pay the least amount in taxes. Right? Because they have a whole team working on their behalf, right? They got people collaborating, looking for every legal loophole to make sure that they pay the least amount in taxes. All right. Because of this guy. I like that. I say legal because this is a retired Court of Appeals judge, Morgan Hand. He said, in America, there are two different tax systems, one for the informed and one for the uninformed, and both are legal. All right. So of course, now you're educated. Congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause. You guys are great. All right? Hey. Now you're more aware, right? So now it's time to really make the decision on whether or not you want to put that knowledge to work for yourself. Right? Of course, you can do it yourself. You can put together your overall retirement plan, your financial plan, your income plan, your investment plan, your long-term care plan. Wow, that's a lot. Can you keep up with it all? You definitely can try. You can attempt the next one too. And the next one after that. And the next one after that. Go to this website, go to that website. I call that information overload. Then just cause paralysis by analysis. And then you enter the biggest nation, which I call procrastination. And being that you're on a time limit on certain things that you have to implement in retirement, is that really the best strategy to procrastinate? In my opinion, no. Or you can decide to work with us. Right? 30 minutes, first, no obligation consultation. Come on in, find out what's important to you. What's really on your heart. All your goals that you're looking to accomplish for yourself. If you want to continue after that, you move on to a second meeting. Let's go over exactly what we'll do. First of which, we'll do a risk analysis and investment portfolio review. Right? Based on how you're investing your funds and all your assets now, it's very important to make sure it matches up with your overall risk tolerance, time horizon, and overall appetite. Because what we find of late is that there may be there's a real big disconnect as far as that goes, right? As Mike had mentioned before, we will do a financial plan. Make sure that you don't outlive your assets. They last as long as you do and transition it on to the next generation. Right? When I get together with my clients, I ask them, why is money important to you? And usually I get two answers. I want to make sure I'm going to be okay. And I want to be able to do the things I want to do. Right? Pretty simple, easy. Right? I just call that really what I say back to you is, so you want security and freedom, right? Pretty simple. So when we do a plan, we keep those two principles in mind. Right? When we do that financial plan, we'll also introduce you to strategies to help protect your assets, all while working with your trusted tax professional or professional at our office, to make sure it's always comprehensive, cohesive, any type of investment and tax planning strategy. Right? Make sense? Good. Before I close for a moment, I'm just of the opinion that the world is full of financial advisors. There's about 400,000 of us out there. I don't really think we need any more of them. The reason I say that is I think you need more leaders with regards to your overall retirement, because it's very complex. You know, you also need somebody who's willing to challenge you on your way of thinking, maybe go against conventional wisdom. Right? What you have been trained all your life to think and know. Ask you questions that maybe you didn't even need to know that you needed to have the answers to. Right? Right? Because the industry really just does a detriment to most clients where they only want to talk to you about what they get paid to talk to you about. Right? Don't you need somebody who's more of an advocate, a fiduciary, looking out for your best interest, not implementing any type of solution before you actually know what problem you need to solve? Right? Makes a lot of sense, right? Think about that. And make sure you fill out your evaluation sheets, right? When we get together. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
Into a Roth?
Mhm.
No.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. That's
Can't
what I
do
thought you said.
Yeah.
But then later you said something about putting something into a Roth and I don't know what that was.
Yeah, so it's taking money that isn't your RMD. You might be taking your requirement and distribution at the same time. That's actually separate. It's a whole lot to get into, you know, so when we run our analysis for you, it's a lot easier to actually help to like segregate the two and see it up on the screen in all nice colors and calculations.
Do Roth conversions at the same time.
Exactly.
But
It has to be spent or reinvested. Question.
Just have a question, a comment and a question. This material that's really very well done, really. Short, but very well done and very high quality.
I'll take whatever.
Clarifying question, so on page 6 of this document, it talked about state income taxes in which states have no general state income tax. Is it true though, in the state of Pennsylvania, there is no income tax on retiree income? So that would include
Correct.
not Social Security, pension, IRA, 401k, Roth IRA, et cetera. Is that true?
Right, no
Yes.
tax on your retirement.
No state tax on retiree income.
In New Jersey, you do have
New
that.
Jersey did.
New Jersey.
Social Security about that.
I can ask Steve, Steve, you know what the New Jersey tax rate is on retirement?
It's a graduated rate where Pennsylvania is flat 3.07%. New Jersey's graduated based on your income level, and probably it starts out around 3 and could go up to 7, 8, or 9%. Why income?
And that's on all your assets.
Pension.
That's on all your income.
Oh,
Yeah, there is a pension exclusion for New Jersey, but then that stops when your income gets to be a certain level. So there is some protection in Jersey, but not total protection like Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
That's a little unknown fact, I think. Most aren't, well, probably it's true, where I wasn't, as much, but I think that generally across the country, people don't realize Pennsylvania is a retiree, state income tax friendly state.
Yes.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
My sister, I think, The basic comment that, I heard we're going to retire to
Social security.
insurance. So if my wife is in a mission low social security, I pass away. Basically, she'll be bumped up to what the my social security is, but next to her life.
Correct.
So, and this can get out to the discussion, questions start to come, when do I have her start taking some security? And it's all she's doing the same thing in the long run.
One of the strategies we did, and it really becomes a cash flow question. But if cash flow is not the question, then she should maybe go to the full retirement age and the higher earner should defer it to 7. But then it gives it the maximum bump up so that when the first person dies and the survivor gets the higher into it.
Right.
That's not the best strategy available under the current.
Plus, when you take it, then she'll also get spousal.
Hmm.
So she'll get even more than her own.
She could.
I was told by someone whose husband died last summer. You have to have your license from the county that you got married in and prove it. Or they don't follow through on higher social security.
We've never had that problem.
Yeah, no.
As long as you're legally married and been married for 10 years, everyone has to, well, to get to higher than 2, you're gonna have to be married 2 years. But anyone who was married 10 years or more, the spouse can claim against the husband, they don't have, as long as they were married, they have those records of social security. No one has to prove it.
That's.
They have on their website, since your website said, they have to buy your birth certificate, but then when you talk to them, they kind of say.
They pretty much have that information stored.
She had to,
Yeah. they-
she married in Jersey, and she had to go to Jersey to get the marriage certificate. They are good.
They are a lot better than people think. I mean, they're really good. You go down there with an appointment and they answer those questions. They actually tell you what the best strategy is for you based on your current situation. They have all that on their computer. They can do that program.
Wanted to ask a question that, has a follow-up, but essentially, let me finish the question because it's better part. So, are you proposing an advisory service that is essentially asset allocation relative to perceived needs? Or does it also include advice for wills and estates? And does it specifically include investment recommendations? Down the level, this bond and this stock. I'm not clear how comprehensive the plan is.
Yes.
So it is.
The answer is yes, and yes, we do that. We do we are fiduciary planners, so we're full service, so we're providing everything from the planning stage to implementation to the estate planning portion, which is the distribution, the final distribution phase of those assets. So what we're trying to do is, and working along with the people in the CPA firm, we're trying to find the most tax efficient way to get you from point A to point B. And then when you're done utilizing those assets, we do the estate planning, make sure when those assets transfer to your beneficiaries, that they do so in the most tax efficient manner. So more goes to them. The government only gets what they're entitled to. So we're talking about, only, the proper planning, like both the investment planning, the financial planning, and then the estate.
I'd suggest that if it's that comprehensive, and while it's utterly impossible, you certainly manage to job as you can, but push as much stuff into an hour or so. Those other parts deserve more attention than we've got tonight.
Yeah, we have another workshop that we do that is based on just that, based on the financial investment in estate planning. Separate from this was basically taxes and retirement. So we do a series of them. And we'll also be, as we do them, we will now recording it will be available on our website.
So the second part of my question is, when it comes to wills and estate planning on one hand and specific recommendations, does your program only work if that planning is done through affiliated law firms, or will you work with an existing law firm that's unaffiliated?
Yeah, we,
And with brokerage firms, the same question.
yes, we work both with the current advisor that you may be working with as well as your current attorney. But not.
Mention that for sure.
But not your.
I said that for Steve. first.
Yes.
They love their CPA.
Yes.
Question.
When you mentioned leveraging assets to long-term care, does that mean you talk about people that do not have long-term care plan, they threw away enough assets for their long-term care, or it means something else?
It can mean something different for everybody. So, I mean, I'm just going over basic concepts. I mean, because we can do, as Mike had mentioned, we can do a whole seminar just on long-term care planning and what your backup plan should be. Should you decide to self-insure, whatever the case may be, but also from a tax standpoint too, right?
A number of years ago, I'll say 15 years ago, the only choice you had was self-insure or to buy a long-term care policy. Which at the age of 55 or 60 was relatively inexpensive. But there was an escalator clause in there, so the companies, based on their experience, kept raising rates, and almost priced people out of the long-term care market. Since that happened, through evolution now, for estate planning, you can set aside a portion of your assets to fund a long-term care contract that says, if you put 50,000 here, we'll provide you with 250,000 of long-term care benefits. However, if you never use it, that 50,000 comes back to your beneficiaries. So if you don't use it, you don't lose it. Where with insurance policies, you pay that premium, 30 years, you may never use it, that's all it was, like car insurance. So now they have it where for those in the proper estate plan, you can set aside a bulk of assets into a plan over here, and it provides 3 to 5 times that amount for long-term care if you need it. If you don't need it, that bulk of money comes back to your estate. Or you can cancel it any time and get it back. Should the government ever come on with a plan to cover long-term care?
Just one more question, when you inherit an IRA, 10 years to,
Exactly, yes.
is that for your spouse or just for the next generation?
Could be for your spouse. I'm sorry.
No, your spouse would just roll over into their IRA and they would continue to do it just through the RMDs. When it goes to a non-spousal beneficiary, then you have the 10-year payout.
Mhm.
And there's really not clear rules on how we have to take that 10 years, so there's a lot of confusion. But what we're recommending to our clients is you take 10% out, an equal amount out each year for 10 years, and then whatever the balance is. That's it. People are being told a lot of different things, but I think that's probably the safest distribution way to go, in our opinion.
Take numbers. A lot of.
Key thing is here, I'll speak with everybody, it's a matter of having a plan, because it's like anything else, you can't set out on a trip or a journey going somewhere if you don't have directions to know where you're going. It's really hard to get there. So point is, getting an inventory of those assets, a snapshot of where you are, even if you do it on your own, and figure out where you want to be 1, 5, 10 years from now, or when that asset passes in your state, and then find the best way to get it. But, it's not a matter of just finding the investments that'll get you from A to B, but the ones that are going to let you sleep at night, not worrying about what your money's doing, because not everybody is different. Everybody has a different level of risk tolerance. The second thing you have to look at is that if you're going to take this much risk, then your return should be here. If we look at your portfolio and say, hey, you're taking this much risk, but here's your return. If you're happy with the risk you're taking, then your return needs to be here. It has to be in correlation. So A lot of times people will come in and say, boy, I really had a great year. I'm really happy with what I'm doing. Well, if you're happy with this rate of return and your risk is here, you really should be down here. We can lower your risk in half and still give you the same return. So it's not always what you're getting from your portfolio, but whether it's correlated with the amount of risk. You're willing to take this risk and you need this return. If you like this return, then this is where your risk level should be. We have to then find the investments that will do that. That's the last piece of the puzzle, finding the proper investments to put. Then managing those assets. Well, that's the third piece of what we do, is manage the assets on a daily basis to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. To meet those goals. Financial plan explanation in 2 minutes or less. Any other questions? Thank you all for coming. To the thousands of people who are out there on our YouTube thing, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.